Hello and welcome to Talking Pictures Podcast. I'm your host David and joined with me as always my co-host Brian. Brian, how are you today?
I'm very excited, David, for this weekend.
This weekend? What is this weekend?
This weekend is Taylor Sheridan weekend.
Okay, let me guess. Yellowstone is back.
David, it is the finale episode of Tulsa King Season 2. It is the 5th episode of Special Ops Lioness Season 2. It is the premiere episode of Landman. And after 2 years of waiting, the 9th episode of the 5th and final season of Yellowstone. All taking place this upcoming Sunday and Monday.
These 2 days.
David, if Mayor of Kingstown Season 3 was released around this time, as opposed to earlier this year. But just saying, very excited for this weekend. Taylor Sheridan weekend, yep.
You had him as one of your favourite directors, didn't you?
I did indeed.
Yeah, so I'm not a Taylor Sheridan, I'm not in his camp, but I hope to be soon. I'm going to start watching Yellowstone, considering it's ending now, and I'm like, okay, great, now I can watch it without having those 2 year waits in between.
Oh yeah, but don't forget, when you do get to halfway through Season 5, wait 2 years.
Okay. It's like when we go to watch Avengers Infinity War followed by Endgame. It's like, no, you have to wait the year.
Yeah.
Wait the year. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Talking Picture Podcast. If you're new here, make sure that you're subscribed on your favourite podcasting app of choice. Make sure you're following us on all of our social medias. They're down in the link below. We have new episodes every single Wednesday, as well as bonus episodes every other weekend. Before we jump into our main event of the evening, Brian, have you got a trailer of the week for us?
You know I do.
I know. And I really hope it's the one I'm thinking of. The one that maybe was released today.
'Twas.
Go on, tell for the people listening at home, what's the trailer of the week?
It was released 2 days ago, actually.
Okay, well, yeah, for recording's sake, when we were recording this on Monday evening, it was released today, a few hours ago.
Yeah. Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning.
What? I thought you were going to say, what if Season 3? No, of course, I'm talking about Mission Impossible. What a great trailer. And I have to say, I didn't watch it.
Yeah.
I listened to it.
Yeah. So you texted me, trailers out, Final Reckoning. I was like, oh, so that's what they labelled it. No more.
Because let's not forget, when the last one came out, it was Dead Reckoning Part 1. And it didn't perform overly well at the box office, if I remember.
So when they market this coming out as Part 2, which did not do financially well with the Part 1, they really would want to distance themselves from that. So I think it's a good strategy to maintain consistency, but show a difference, like adding final in it as opposed to dead, but the reckoning is still the same, because it is indeed a two-parter of a overall story.
Yeah, like we talked about the first part, and when we released it as Dead Reckoning Part 1.
So Paramount changed it, so we got to change it.
So we changed it back. We went back, and now it's just Dead Reckoning. But yeah, it definitely is part 1 of a story, and I'm really, really, really looking forward to this second.
Hold on a sec. Did you listen to it, or did you watch it?
I listened to it.
Good.
Because there's something about the Mission Impossible movies for me, because they're so stunt heavy and so visually impressive. I don't want to see that on my phone. I don't want to see that on my laptop. I want to see that on the big screen.
Man, you got a big screen right in front of us.
I've got a big TV, yeah, fair enough. But I think that the first time I want to experience those is seeing them in cinema and seeing them in the context of the film.
Right.
So I've seen some screenshots. I've seen 2 planes. There's a plane chase, I assume. But that's it. And I know from behind the scenes set photos that there's a train. But beyond that, I don't know anything. I just listen to it, and it's a trailer that when listening to it, it's great. It's just dialogue and it's intense music.
Yeah.
So I can't even picture what's happening. I can't even imagine what's happening. It's it's all going to be on the big screen.
Yeah, it's similar to the first trailer of Part 1. At the time it was Part 1. It was mostly music and simple, small, limited dialogue with all visuals. So with this trailer, same again, really. Similar music, but a different version of it. New visuals for this movie, and dialogue, limited though, but impactful. It's the first trailer.
It gave me goosebumps.
That's it. You just want goosebumps.
Yeah, that's it. And I got that from hearing the music start and then hearing Ving Rhames speak. I'm like, I'm in. The fact that it was so many pieces of dialogue before Ethan Hunt speaks.
Yeah.
And it's that he's what does he question? I need you to trust me one final time. I'm like, oh yes, let's go. Come on, let's go, Ethan.
Yeah. Until then, stay tuned.
Yeah, I look forward to doing that one next year. And I really actually look forward to rewatching all of the Mission Impossibles leading up to it, especially Dead Reckoning. Because from memory, I really enjoyed it. And if you want our full thoughts on it, it's back in our feed. But we're not here to talk today about Mission Impossible. We're here to talk about The Penguin, HBO's newest series, just wrapped up literally on Monday as we're recording it right now. We just finished watching the finale. It's a sequel series to 2022's The Batman, starring Robert Pattinson.
Penguin got your tongue there, David.
I was like, where do I go from this? So let me ask you this.
Okay.
When they announced that they were doing a Penguin series,
Yeah.
were you excited? Were you anticipated? Or were you thinking, I would just rather see the Batman 2?
I was excited, but only to the extent of any other interesting series, whether it be a crime series or anything really to look forward to. I know, for example, Mark Ruffalo is in an upcoming crime drama series in 2025. I know it's from the creators who did Mayor of Easttown. Therefore, I am excited.
Yeah.
But I was more excited looking forward to Peacemaker. Spinning off of the Suicide Squad in his own show. I was more excited for that compared to this. I was like, okay, hopefully it's good. It's a given, right? Its own universe, its own Batman created in the midst of the DCU ongoing, and now it's spinning off in its own thing with one or two other TV shows in their own developments, whether it be the Arkham series or the GCPD series. Those are either cancelled or in development hell. And I was curious to see it. I think after I watched episode 1, I realised, holy shit, I should have been more excited for it. Because I kept on saying holy shit for 8 weeks.
Yeah. I was a little bit late to it. I didn't watch it week to week.
Yeah.
So I was a little bit slow with it. But the thing that got me more and more excited each week was seeing everyone's reactions to it and everyone going, wow, this is so good. Wow, this is great. The thing that I was most, I think, looking forward to it was being back in this Gotham. Because I think that when watching the Batman, that was one thing that I really enjoyed was that whole, you know, like people say, like, oh, the city is a character.
Yeah.
And that feeling of the underworld of Gotham. I wanted to see that more so.
Oh, it's the best Gotham ever created on screen, and it's my favourite.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, without doubt, it's better than Nolan's Gotham. It's better than whatever Gotham there was in Ben Affleck's one. It's better than any Gotham.
I don't think Ben Affleck had a Gotham.
it had a third final act in Batman v Superman.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're just generic cities, whereas this one feels like it has its own world and its own identity.
Yeah, if anything, you compare the Batman to Christopher Nolan's Batman.
And that's just a generic city.
Yeah.
I don't think of anything special about that Gotham. You know?
This Gotham created Batman, it's its own thing, it's its own character, it's its own identity. You're given expectations for it, and here in the Penguin, throughout the show, it's tenfold. I really don't know how to describe it. Is it the tunnels we venture into? Is it the upper class, whether it be the gangsters or the politicians? Is it the segregation from those who were done badly with the Riddler flooding major areas of the city compared to major areas that were not impacted in the slightest?
I think it's the diversity. I think, like what you're saying there, it's all of those aspects. It's the fact that we can go through, and let me just say this as well, sorry, spoilers for the entire Penguin series, we're not holding back on anything. It's seeing scenes taking place in the Falcone mansion, then going and seeing it taking place where Vic is from.
In his family's apartment.
His family's apartment. And
where love towers the entire room, unlike the Falcone. Like, you have the Falcone's big mansion, but
it's empty. It's cold.
It's void of love.
Yeah.
Compared to Vic's.
And like seeing that apartment both before and after the floods caused by the Riddler. And I think seeing the consistency over seeing the events of the Batman. This takes place a week after the events of the Batman.
Yeah.
And it's not all done. You know, there still are places that have no electricity, you know, are destroyed by water. And seeing that and going like to the tunnels and then going to a jazz club and seeing like all these different aspects, it just feels like, and then going to City Hall, you know, in the last episode, seeing all these different aspects of it.
I actually appreciated seeing the City Hall there because of how done up it looks. A little old fashioned, but how untouched by crime and corruption it appears to be compared to something like a jazz club, compared to the warehouses that Oz operates within.
And the nightclubs that they were going to sell drugs.
Yeah. What about Arkham? We saw a bit of Arkham here. Both versions, or was it a separate prison that Maroni was in?
Maroni was in Blackgate.
Right.
Whereas Arkham is the asylum.
Right. Well, we got 2 appearances from that now. So I appreciated that. But back to the flooding. In terms of how it affected those in poverty and those who are living lives unwealthy compared to the rich. So to simplify the comparison, Vic and his family and Sophia and her family. This show did a real good job to remind you the damage the Riddler did in flooding. Because in the Batman, it seemed that the flood would only go as far as to either your ankles or up to your chest, as we saw how it flooded the main building that Batman was in when he played Moses to the...
in the stadium, yeah.
And in that whole final confrontation, in the third act, it looked like, the water only goes as far as, your chest. No, it goes to the top of low buildings, such as Vic's family apartment.
Yeah.
And they all died.
Yeah, like at the end of the Batman, obviously we have Batman on top of the stadium and he's, giving hope to all these people, but that just doesn't do away the damage that was done. People have hope, and he has a new mission. However, like that, Vic's family is dead.
Yeah.
And that's not going to inspire hope in Vic. That's why he's resorted to this life of crime.
If you see one of the final shots in the Batman of Gotham City and you see areas covered underwater, that's the general areas of those who are affected the most. So quite a good lingering connection between the movie and the show. But while you just mentioned how Batman has been given a new laundry list of things to do, can we just get this all out of the way? Batman has a good logical reason to not be here, because he's not going to be investigating what criminals and gangsters are doing behind closed doors in white collar operations or anything like that. He's not going to be where he doesn't know what's happening. He himself said that he cannot just be vengeance. He has to be an inspiration for hope. How is he going to do that? He's going to do that by helping people, rescuing people, saving them, getting them to better living conditions, however that may be, like he did to that woman in the stretcher when he set her off in the helicopter. He has to do that for the entirety of Gotham, for those who have been affected like Vic and those who have not been affected by others who, let's say, are the police or the politicians or just anyone.
Yeah, like realistically, Gotham is too big for one man. He's a one-man army.
Especially for a man who's only a one-man army in his second year.
Yeah, it's so early on in his career.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, like, if Batman had turned up in episode 3 and shut down the operation, that's not going to happen. I think that these operations need to build and build and build until they become on Batman's radar.
Yeah.
Like, realistically, he isn't, I don't think, like, stopping someone that's just like robbing a TV out of a store. He's not on these small petty crimes.
No.
He is going for the bigger stuff, and Oswald throughout the whole series is a small fish in a big pond.
Yeah.
But he has the ambition to get bigger and he wants to be the biggest fish in this pond.
Yeah.
And it's not until obviously that last shot where Oswald, he says, I'm the king of Gotham, and the woman that's, pretending to be his mother, the prostitute he's hired, we'll get to that later, freak. She says, you're the king of Gotham, nothing is in between you and Gotham now. And then literally that pull out that shot, bam, bat signal in the air, the Batman is still here.
Yeah.
He wasn't aware of what was going on before, but now it's like he's fully aware.
Oh yeah, the Penguin did not have the Batman's attention throughout the show because he was nothing more than a fish in a big pond. But now, after the damage he's done or has been an accessory to, now he has caught his attention. Now he's going to go break his legs.
What's going on here?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day now, we've essentially seen, from Oswald's point of view, he's seen the destruction of 2 major crime families.
Yeah.
And he's the only one left now.
Yeah.
He is, like he says, the king. He's the kingpin.
I'm actually surprised he has people under him still working in the masses due to the sheer number of deaths in this show.
Yeah, but who's left?
But just the final note, I really got bothered and sick of people complaining, where's Batman? Batman should be here. Batman should be there.
I didn't want to see Batman. If anything, I'd want to see him in the last episode.
But here's the thing. I got so annoyed with that. I actually wanted him to purposely not show up, even if the story called for him to be there, whether it was Batman or Bruce Wayne. I got so annoyed with all these complainers and whiners. I actually said, no, I want you to taste your just desserts and have a good crime drama.
Yeah,
that
a gangster show. Yeah,
that does not have to remind you that it is based on a comic book.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You could sit down and watch this and it bears no resemblance to a comic book or a superhero story or anything. It's only that last shot where you go, oh shit, Batman. Like, if you didn't know who the Penguin was,
this could be called the Pelican and you would not be in the know that this was in relation to Batman. Like, you most likely would just forget. Those who are not in it, some people would say, oh yeah, the Batman signal at the end of it. That's great. If anything, actually, I know I said last thing about the Batman, but I actually expected, or at least preferred, the bat signal would pop up as opposed to Batman showing up. It's not, it show, and it did show up, but not in the way I expected. I thought it was going to show up the same way how this show started, with the Batman theme. Bum,
Yeah, so did
bum,
I.
bum,
I thought so
bum,
too.
Bum. So that first minute in the show, the Penguin, opened up with that music playing, and in a 30-second to a minute montage, just reminding you leading up to the events of where we are, and then boom, Oz's perspective. I thought this show was going to end with that music playing again, and then the bat signal shows up.
So did I, and I thought specifically they would do that because it's kind of like we're going from the Batman into the Penguin, and then as we go through the Penguin, to have it fade out on that, that we're going back into the Batman, and obviously the next project we'll see will be the Batman Part 2. And what I hope to see in that film is Penguin set up, obviously in the apartment, he's got it fully done, and Batman says, you know, something to the effect of like, you've come up since I last saw you. Do you know, and maybe he'll have an offhanded comment about how he dealt with the Maronis, dealt with the Falcones, a messy business or something like that.
Only within his scenes, though.
Yeah, only within his scenes, that he himself has had his own, like, what I like about it is that between these films, things are happening. You know, it's not like as soon as the camera stops that these people don't exist and this story, this world doesn't progress. Having a chance to see it all unfold in the Penguin, seeing that, you know, come along to the Batman Part 2 and you didn't watch the Penguin, and he says something to the effect of, I dealt with the Maronis and the Falcones, it's only me left, or something like that. That's just an offhanded comment. That means nothing. To us, that means so much.
That's a show.
That's a full show, and that would be, in another world, we didn't get the Penguin show, we got the Batman Part 2, and then off of that comment we go back, we see this in between. I very much believe that could happen. I understand what you're saying, and what I like is that we're going to go chronologically. I would much rather just see this world progress and move along, as opposed to progressing only in movies and then we go back in time and see things that happen between, because then there's no stakes for characters. You know, if I'm watching the Batman Part 2 and Vic doesn't turn up, and then all of a sudden I'm watching a prequel show where Vic's a character, I'm like, well,
what's the point?
I've never seen any of these characters. I've never seen any of the Falcons. I've never seen any of the Maronis.
What I want to add to that, in terms of how Penguin appeared in the Batman and how he might appear in the sequel. Maybe I should say this a little bit more clearer. When I watched the Batman, you're introduced to the character the Penguin, and he does what he does in that movie, and blah blah blah. It ends with, oh, this guy has some inspirations,
potential here.
Then you watch this show, right, from start to finish, 8 episodes. Genuinely, I acknowledge the connection, but it not just stands alone. I really do feel like this is just a different character altogether. I know it's the Penguin, I know it's the same actor playing him with the same characteristics, but because we fully know every goddamn thing there is to know about the Penguin in this show, I feel like I not only go back to watch the Penguin with a different perception of him, because of what we get of him in that movie, it's still limited in his screen time, and he serves his purpose. But I feel like as a result of this show, in what we explored, I don't think the sequel, the Batman Part 2, will then, well, we need to make sure we make a real good impression with Oz, so let's make him the second lead character, or in fact the main villain. No. Use the Penguin in the sequel the same way you did in the Batman.
Yeah, I think so. And I think he's come out to say he is. He signed on for 2 more Batman films, but to a similar capacity, 5 to 6 scenes.
Oh, god damn it. I think that is brilliant. A recurring character in an overall franchise. Similar to what Scarecrow was in Nolan's. So I appreciate that.
But has an active role and an active... He's not just tied into the events of the Batman. He has his own thing. He's doing his own story.
But I really just do feel... I really need to make point. I probably didn't make it clear in describing it. I feel like there is a real distinct separation between what we see Colin Farrell in the movie compared to the show.
It's more fleshed out. Like, this is...
But to the point where I actually feel like it's different characters. Not because of any other reason, but only because it's just that, well, he is more fleshed out.
Well, hopefully that carries over into the next film.
Yeah.
You know, that this wasn't all for nothing, and it's just going to be the same character from the first film.
Yeah.
And I don't think that will be. I think he's much more fleshed out.
Oh, he is, absolutely. And I'm not knocking it down for it. I'm giving it the praise.
Yeah.
Like, it's a good thing. In fact, even when I reminded myself that this is Colin Farrell, I still forgot.
I was the same. I was, every time watching him, it was his eyes.
Yeah.
With all of the prosthetics and all, he can get lost in there, but looking at his eyes, I'm like, there's Colin Farrell.
Yeah.
But then as the scene would play on, completely it would melt away.
Yeah.
And it was Oz, you know, and it was, I'd have to nearly snap myself back and go, oh, that's Colin Farrell.
Yeah.
You know, for no reason other than just I know who it is.
Yeah.
But,
And then that's it. Because you know who it is, you're able to just be more comfortable with that knowledge. But you still forget. I watched a Colin Farrell show called Sugar earlier in the year. I watched that show knowing that's Colin Farrell playing this character, but I know it's Colin Farrell. This, the Penguin, it's his best performance I've ever seen ever.
That's yeah, I think when you compare him to how he actually is in real life, then yeah, that's I think a fair thing to say. Yeah.
I think the final episode really solidified that.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that the final episode was great, but I have to say, and we're talking about him a lot, I'd actually love to move on to just some, well, we didn't even really talk about the Penguin as a character. Let's talk about him just as a character, not you know, story or anything like that.
Scumbag.
Scumbag,
Pathological liar,
prick,
killer.
But yet mesmerizing to watch. Like, you can't help but feel sorry for him, and I think he knows that. I think
Believes his own bullshit is what he
I
does.
think Oz knows that he's a sympathetic guy. It's the
Yeah.
walk, and it's the everyone kind of, oh, he's just, you know, he's kind of harmless, you know.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden
it is kind of funny. You watch him, maybe not in the Batman so much, but here definitely, that you look at him and you just take pity on him.
Yeah.
You know, he's got the walk, and I think even for audiences, you see his foot for the first time, and only just that one time.
yeah.
Like, you really feel for this guy. The first scene where he's trying to seal the loot in Falcone's safe, and he has that one great scene with his son, and he sits there and he's talking about this gangster, about how he was loved and respected,
and I think of what he was kind of trying to be and look up to. Yeah.
And then Falcone's kid comes in here and just laughs at him. What I like about here in this shot is that we're not taking time to waffle. He pulls out his gun and just shoots him.
Does he call him the Penguin? Is that what causes him to shoot him?
He doesn't call him a penguin there.
Okay.
He just insults him and laughs at him. Like, he calls him, I forget what he called him specifically, but he more so just laughed at him and insulted him because you pathetic, dirty, look at you, just stare at you.
I really did think we were going a completely different direction with the show because of that scene. I thought Alberto's coming in here, and I was like, okay, now. I thought that I genuinely did think it was going to be kind of Oz nearly manipulating this guy and trying to get in his good graces.
Yeah.
But then the fact that he shoots him straight away and he's gone, I'm like, oh no, he's going for the power. He's going for the top.
Do you know
top
what
job.
I liked about that? In how he killed him? It was done in 3 different shots. He pulled out his gun when it was over Oz's shoulder. He started firing at him when it was over Alberto's back, looking at Oz, and then it was finished on a wide shot, finishing the bullets. It's like knowing he's going to pull out his gun and shoot him, but the way they edited that, it was still a surprise, and the surprise got you because it was done quick. It was like a left to right, and it's like I knew it was coming, but because of the way they shot it and edited it, it still surprised me because I wasn't ready for it. And then he just sits back and smiles because he has a moment. It's like, yeah, well, you're dead, so fuck you.
I got you, you know.
I got you. That's consistent here. So I didn't know really what story we were going to get into. I thought maybe I thought that he's going to have to manipulate to get into cahoots with the higher ups, but still leech his way to the top, and he still does that. But it was a good idea to kill off the brother, and then the main character that's not the Penguin, Sophia, come in and seek out who killed her brother.
And I thought then what the show does is also what the Penguin is, which is surprising. And I never knew where it was going to go next.
Yeah.
Because of, specifically with Oz, right? That you're kind of led to believe that he's a mama's boy. Like, he is a mama's boy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he'd do anything for his mom, and there's so many episodes of that where he's going back to check on her. He's sending Vic to go check on her. He's
dancing with her.
He's keeping her in good spirits.
Always trying to promise her to provide her the life she's always wanted.
He's looking out for her.
Yeah.
And then we get to the scene in the final episode where he's captured by Sophia, his mom and him, and she's going to chop off her finger, and it's like, admit what you did, admit that you killed your brothers, that you put them in that thing, and you'll be free, you'll be released. Your mom knows it. She knows he did it. Just say it.
She admitted it as well. She said, I know you did it. I just say it. I know already. And his shock, it's the thing about the Penguin is that he not just believes his own bullshit. He probably... No, he knows what he did. He knows what he did. He knows who he is. But he not only believes his own bullshit to keep face, he wants to believe his own bullshit to his mother, because he cannot be the monster to her eyes. He can't bear that. He has
to be he's the mama's boy. He
has
to be.
Yeah, he can't bear that thought.
But it's such a conflicting idea to have him, that he doesn't want to be appearing as a monster in her eyes. She's saying, I know that you did it, just admit it, they're going to cut my finger off, and he's still denying it. He's like, no, I can't. So in his attempts to, in her eyes, not be a monster, he's being another type of monster, but he doesn't see that. He's just seeing the emotional side. He's emotionally attached to her, but not physically. And it was just fantastic to see, like, genuinely, every single time, his next move, you couldn't see it, he would just make a move. I thought after he killed Alberto, and then all of a sudden he's in jail with the Maronis.
Yeah.
And now, he's going to side with the Maronis, and then he's back with the Falcones. I was like, okay, he's going to play them off each other.
Yeah.
I thought, okay, we're going to have him playing them off, and he's going to be kind of the guy in the background, and...
Pulling all the strings. Bringing in new crew as well, the Chinese.
And then, guess what? The show goes... No, it's not. This is the real world. And the Maronis go, we know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And they completely pull the rug out from under me in that episode.
The fact that they did that in episode 3, 3 episodes, you think it's going the way it's going, with him blaming Alberto's death on someone else and buddying up with Sophia while also buddying up with Maroni, playing them both so he can rise his way to the top. At episode 3, that is cut off.
Yeah.
And his allies with the leading, pivotal and most empowering characters in the show, that's not in his side.
He's on his own now again.
Yeah, like the fact that we have 5 episodes left, you don't know how it's gonna proceed. You don't know how it's gonna continue. You don't know what storyline you know based on other storyline formulas you've watched over the years it will go, and it goes the route very well. He's just gonna take it himself.
Now, we've talked a lot about the Penguin,
but
I think we should move on to it should have been called the Penguin and the Falcon, because Sophia Falcone, she is just as much a main character as Oz is.
Yeah, I heard that before watching it, so I had expectations, and it didn't disappoint. What's her name?
Kristen Milotti.
I love it when she smiles.
She has a gorgeous smile and the biggest eyes.
Yeah.
That in anything else, like, I don't know where you know her from. I know her from How I Met Your Mother.
I only seen her in Palm Springs, but I still couldn't tell you that was her.
So I knew her from How I Met Your Mother from years ago. She's a small character in The Wolf of Wall Street, and then she's in Palm Springs. But in How I Met Your Mother, she's a really, like, good girl, big eyes you'd fall in love with.
Oh yeah, puppy dog eyes, you know.
Yeah, and here she has that look, but then she's like a vixen. She's so hot. She's genuinely, like, I think when her, is it her mom's cousin? It's like, you need the respect, Johnny
Vitti.
You need the respect. I feel like her walking through the room, I'd be like, oh yeah, what do you need? I'll do it for you. Like, I'm just, I'll do whatever. I'm simping for her.
She's adorable and she's cute and she is full on hot.
She will shoot you at the drop of a hat.
But it was the scene where she captured Oz, because at the point she did believe he did kill Alberto. He's strapped to the chair naked with all those prosthetics. Great work, by the way, with the guy ripping his arm off with a metal cord.
Oh, I forgot about that.
That's the guy. He put something in his pocket, and he put a knife in that guy's pocket.
The one he frames later on.
So like, he didn't let that go at all. And that scene there where you see Sophia say, yeah, I'm deranged. It's the eyes, and then it's the scary little look she makes with her mouth, because you just see this little
slender thing. Wouldn't hurt a fly, and then she's like, I'm going to chop your hand off. I'm going to chop your arm off.
I like that this show started off with her appearing to be a psychotic murderer, but that wasn't the case at all.
No, once again, pulling the rug out from under us, surprising us, taking a left turn. I have to say, I think one of my favourite episodes after the finale was her whole episode with her backstory.
Yeah, it's a funny thing. Flashback episodes are not as popular because it takes away from the
driving factor, the driving story that we're going on.
But this really did, I have to say, keep my focus on this. And it was it was the disgust and vile hate I had for her father.
Yeah. So for Carmine, yeah.
So I love Falcone in the Batman. I love John Turturro playing him for what he did, even though he, did kill women in that movie. In the show, he's the same character with the same consistency. I hated him.
But he's vile, yeah.
Oh, I hated him. And I hated Mark Strong because of him. I obviously don't hate Mark Strong, but I hate the guy. Hate his hair, hate his mustache.
His glasses, his stupid little glasses.
I hate that he was caught off guard and he falsely imprisons his own daughter to not just Blackgate, no, Arkham. And he has the corrupt police do it as well. That guy Kenzie or Mackenzie, Batman called him Mustache in the movie. He made an appearance here as a crooked policeman.
The guy she gave drops to.
No, that's not him. That's a different guy altogether.
Who was it? Was it the one that came to the house after all of them died?
No, he came to arrest her with Oz present from the car.
Oh, yeah.
He's the guy who made the arrest.
Yeah.
And then we actually see why she loved Alberta so much, and that, yes, he actually did have her back.
Well, I think that whole, like, what you're saying there, just to build on with Carmine Falcone.
Yeah.
What a vile human being to not only kill your wife, but then to set her up in a way that looks like she killed herself and to leave her there for your daughter to find.
Yeah.
What a vile human being. Then, afterwards, to frame your daughter for all of the killings you've done in a similar fashion. I think that one of my greatest fears in life is to be falsely imprisoned for something I didn't do and have no way of like proving my innocence. It's like if all of the cards were stacked against me, it's exactly what she was going through. The fact that she was brought there, Alberto was the only one on her side, and then when she comes into the room and she's like, I only had to do like 3 months or whatever, and then I'm 6 months, and then he goes, yeah, they're not giving you a trial. You're like, what do you mean I'm not getting a trial? Like, you don't get your due process. She was in there for 10 years, was it?
Yeah, so after that talk with Alberta, she goes back to her cellmate, who I'm sure fans online were saying, Harley Quinn.
Oh, I didn't think so at all. Yeah, but
people were saying, we're thinking that she kills her because she couldn't stand her, and then she said, "I told you I'm not crazy," with the evil Nazi doctor looking at her. So her being falsely imprisoned made her the killer she was accused of being. And 10 years later,
when the start of that episode, and it was Mark Strong, and I thought it's strange to have recast Carmine as instead of John Turturro. Now I know John Turturro didn't want to come back because of the way he was being portrayed, as in the character. He didn't want to go for that. I wonder, was it also like because it's TV, it's not as prestigious, so he didn't want to do it?
He's in Severance.
That's true, and that's HBO as well.
No, it's Apple.
Oh, it's Apple. There you go. Okay.
No. At first, it was scheduling conflicts, but then the story came out with the depiction of
the violence against women.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, good on you, mate. And I still love his role in the movie, and I still hate the character in the show.
But then when that was happening, I was like, okay, I could see that he was Mark Strong. Maybe this is set 10-15 years before the Batman.
Sure.
And then literally she goes to prison, and then she comes out and she makes a line of it. I was in there for 10 years. I'm like, oh, perfect. You set the exact right timeline for me to believe that she was in there for 10 years and Mark Strong aged up to be John Turturro. You know what I mean?
I think they are of a similar age, and aren't they separate ethnicities?
Possibly, yeah, but that's not something I'm thinking of. Yeah. You know, I'm thinking of just the actors themselves.
I'll just flat out say, the recasting did take me out of it.
It does,
but as a double-edged sword in a good way that I praise, it really distincts the separation I have between the two performances, where I can say I love one and I hate the other. Not in terms of performance, I just despise the character that he was revealed to be. And for the same reason, where I watched the Batman and I'm not going to think about what happened in the Penguin with Oz Cobb, I'm thinking the same with Carmine Falcone. I'm not thinking what Carmine Falcone did based on the events of the Penguin when I watched the Batman. It's just the separation is so strong. But it's a praise. It's not
It's not a bad thing.
Yeah, it's not a knockdown I'm giving. But this show, it not only got you on board for Sophia, even after she killed all her family, because
Oh, great. I have to say, that was so good.
it needed to remind me, she did. My father sent me to prison and none of you stood up for me.
Yeah.
And that was the final straw.
I think the final straw for her was Alberto dying. The only person in her corner.
Yeah.
Gone. And now she's in this room and she sees in her eyes, rightfully so, like, I'm the last heir of my father.
Yeah.
I should be the one taking over this. And like you said, none of you were there for me.
And that's
you all wrote affidavits saying that I was insane, that I was crazy.
And that's why I rooted for her when she killed them all. And I was happy. Yeah, I was happy with that.
It was so strange because I once again, it surprised me. I couldn't tell you that was going to happen. When she takes the daughter out of the house to the greenhouse, I thought she's going to take that child and run away with her. And maybe this will be the last we see of Sophia. She's going to take this daughter away and you know, as a fuck you to her cousins or whoever it was. When she came back into that house and they were all dead, I was like, oh my god. She killed off all the other Falcons.
But
she's the only one.
She opened up Johnny Viti's window. I liked his line to her earlier in the episode or in the show. Go to Sicily, or that's where I tell people you went to.
Johnny was a good character in that, like, he is of the old family.
Yeah.
And what I really liked...
He's an underboss.
He's an underboss. He's a made man.
Yeah.
What I like about him a lot... Well, not about him, actually, sorry. What I really liked that Sophia did, taking him down into that crypt, giving him a chance, right? He brings all the people together and then immediately kills them. You know, she essentially was like, I just need you to get everyone together for me.
Yeah.
You know, and lure him into a false sense of security where he wouldn't plan to, you know, uproot her.
Yeah.
And then she just... takes him out.
Made an example of him.
Yeah.
And really just gave a visual cue for everyone to see, I murdered my family. Here, look. Boom.
Yeah. And she tells them all. She's like, I killed them all.
Did you think she was going to kill him then and there? Or no?
I thought he would stick around. Because the fact she showed him mercy.
Yeah.
Especially in that crypt, I thought that was him gone.
Yeah, no great praise for the show. First of all, I just want to say, that character is played by Michael Kelly. I'm sure you've seen him and stuff before. Yeah, he's always that guy in a suit that you don't know whether to trust or not. He's not always.
He's always a government official. Like, you know, he's
yeah. So I really like that guy, and I really like seeing him. He's one of my favorite character actors.
I think one of the best things I can say about Sophia as a character, I really liked once again how you really didn't know where things were going when she killed her family and basically took out all the Falcons. Then the fact that she changed her last name, she was like, I'm done with Falcone. We're no longer the Falcones. We're the Gigantes. Then does the unthinkable and sides with the Maronis. And she goes, and after Salvatore Maroni broken out of prison,
which I will say, it doesn't bother me because the show's brilliant, but the fact that he was able to walk out just because he got access to keys from a prison guard that he had killed, even though he was stabbed. It
did seem a little bit convenient. All right, yeah. I kind of was like, how's he out?
Yeah.
But then once he was out, I didn't really think about it.
Yeah.
But the fact that she sided with him, completely unexpected. Because when I think of Batman, when I think of the Batman universe, not just specifically this universe, but the Batman as a character and a world and comics and all this.
Yeah.
When I think of crime in Gotham, obviously there's the supervillains and all this stuff. But when you get down to that street level, gangs and thugs,
there's adversary between other gangs and
they are that level. They are the Falcone crime mob family and the Maronis. They are staples of that universe of they just exist. They're not the big bad. They're not the Joker. They're not Two-Face, anything like that. They are the people that Harvey Dent is trying to put away. You know, these crime bosses. These are the day-to-day bad guys.
And I also like the different representations of Italian mafia bosses in that of Falcone, take your pick, and Maroni. I really love Clancy Brown in this.
Oh yeah, Clancy Brown's great. I love him anytime he turns up.
What a monster of a man.
Yeah. And I have to say, I love the scene where he and Sophia he's making a meal.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh yeah, my wife taught me it to pass down to our children.
Yeah.
And then he breaks down a little bit. You know, he cries.
Yeah,
he gets angry.
Because you're watching a scene knowing he's learned by now that his wife and son were burnt to a crisp by a man he put his trust in. He doesn't seem all that bothered. But then, yes, you need a moment. Because at that point, some time has had passed.
Yeah.
It's in winter now. So
Yeah, we've moved. We're now it's less than a month because like realistically, the Batman ends November 6th, and now we're into snowy Gotham,
Yeah.
which is, I have to say, fantastic. I love snowy Gotham. I love it. I really hope that we stay in this time period for the Batman Part 2. I'd love it to be cold. I just would love to see Batman, and like I've taken a big breath, and it's, you know, seeing the air come out, you know, because it's so cold.
I take we're due for that.
Yeah.
But that doesn't necessarily need to dictate the inclusion of a certain villain.
No, I just that, you know.
But
I would even love to say, I would love to see a fight take place between Batman and the League of Assassins, and just seeing him go up against 4 to 5 ninjas on a snowy rooftop and just blood on the snow.
I don't think that's gonna happen.
I don't.
Not. I don't think that should. I think the villains in this universe should be restricted to grounded, and assassin ninjas a little bit heightened for my taste, based on my expectations with this.
So, yeah, but I just I meant I want to see that visual.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Back to the Penguin.
I really, really enjoyed that little moment between the two of them.
Yeah,
and I have to say, probably one of the funniest moments for me is when Maroni comes down into the underground.
Yeah, which, by the way, I really have to praise. When moments are dire and you're desperate and you have a lack of crew to do your bidding, go in there with a crowbar and do it yourself. Sophia and Maroni break into his apartment themselves.
Yeah,
they do the dirty work themselves. He's an escaped convict. He's on the run. He's in hiding.
He's walking around. Yeah. What I loved was, did you play any of the Batman Arkham games?
No, but I am aware of them.
So when you die in those games, whatever kind of villain, or if you were fighting some bad guys that worked for a certain villain, the villain would come on screen, like as it's, you know, like the continue screen.
Yeah.
And the villain would like kind of look down at you. It's like, oh, it would make fun of you as the villain. So when Maroni died and the Penguin got up in his face, I was like, this is like an Arkham kill screen. You know, he's getting up in his face like, I fucking got you. I got you. You know, you can't die. What, you gotta come down here?
I've two things to say to that. First of all, this show was going in a way where not only are the people against Penguin are villains, Penguin himself is a villain.
Oh yeah, everyone is a villain to each other.
Yeah. So it's not really easy for myself to root for him when he's doing unspeakable things. Let's say recently, when he burnt a woman and her son to a crisp.
Yeah.
And now he's fighting the patriarch of that family. And I'm having a hard time rooting against Maroni when I fully believe and understand why he's doing it. And I think, go for it.
But that's the same for Sophia. When Alberto turns up with his head chopped off, you can understand her hatred towards Maroni. It's misplaced. It should be towards Penguin. But then as well as that, when we find out about her family locking her up and then she's going to kill her family, it's like, that's an unspeakable thing to do. But like, go for it. You know, it's justified. Or it's not justified, but you can understand why she's doing it.
Yeah. So as a result, I appreciated that it was not Penguin who ultimately killed Maroni.
Yeah, I kind of sometimes do like when someone goes out in a little bit of an unceremonious way.
Natural causes.
Yeah.
Maroni was beaten on Oz and he looked like he was winning. But you're reminded that he is an older gentleman and he had a heart attack. And I think that by him having a heart attack, it obviously puts him in a position that does not win. But Penguin doesn't get what he wants. He doesn't get to abstract something in that of a win to beat Maroni.
And that, once again, is a little bit of foreshadowing because he doesn't get that out of his mother either. The only person he wanted it out of.
Yeah.
Because he is denied that by Maroni. And he's denied that by his mother because of the fact that she also has a stroke and she's left in a vegetative state. I was going to say there, sorry, just about Maroni as well. Maroni, you said he's an older guy. He should really, if you want to compare him to, say, Goodfellas, he should be the Paul Cicero. He should be sitting in the house, people come to him and he just talks to them. He's not doing the dirty work. But
hence him breaking into Oz's apartment, like I said. It's
exactly.
Like, I'm not used to seeing something like this.
He should be at home and people come to him. You know, never picks up the phone. People come to him.
Yeah.
But yeah, here he is doing the dirty work because of what's been going on in these gang wars and so many people are dying and there's not enough people to send down there. So he goes and does it himself.
Yeah. But it made it more digestible for me to watch, to see him die an old man, as opposed to being stabbed to death by Oz. Because if I see Oz do that, it's not just making me perceive Oz from an objective perspective, it makes me feel like I would want to see him die.
Yeah.
Because I'm seeing him do bad things to people, and the loved ones of those people are trying to kill him, and they end up dying themselves. So, you know, you're not watching this show for the hero, because there's an absence.
There is no hero.
There's an absence of heroes here.
The hero is often Wayne Manor.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think even in that scene where he does die of a heart attack, Oz is kind of standing over him, and he's...
Oh yeah, the other thing I wanted to say, thank you for reminding me, I'm enjoying this conversation, is that I thought he was bragging to Maroney, saying, I got you, you know, going on a little rant. I thought he was doing that for show around everyone outside of the bus that happened, so they could watch Oz have a real win over Maroney, because he's not going to get that win because Maroney had a heart attack. That's what I think.
See, I didn't. I thought that he's just doing it for himself because of the fact that he dies of a heart attack, pulls out the gun and shoots him. Shoots him once and then shoots him fucking 8 times.
But again, that's why I think he was doing it for show in front of all his goons and lackeys who couldn't really make out what was actually happening there. So I think he's trying to make himself look more glorious and winnable by doing that.
I think you are right to think that, but the way that I would see it is that he shoots him and he's convincing himself. He's believing his own lie. He's believing his own bullshit. Throws the body out and there's 8 bullets in it. And then when somebody else questions it, he's like, I shot him. I shot him 8 times. What, you think he just died before that? I think he's convincing himself, and then by consequence convincing all his other friends.
Believing his own bullshit.
Because he does it later on with his mom. His mom is in a vegetative state upstairs.
Yeah.
He can't get what he wants from her, which is, and I love you, it's an I'm proud of you. So what does he do? He hires a girl, he has her dress exactly like his mom, has her hair, it's a wig to look exactly like his mom, is dancing with her, and he says, tell me you're proud of me, tell you I'm great, tell me you love me, all this stuff. He's like, he's feeding himself his own bullshit to believe it. And I think that's...
I first thought, is he fantasizing or imagining something here with this young woman?
I thought so too, because of the way the start of the episode was, where we get the flashback. Was she's with her memory when Sophia and the doctor as well are like trying to putting her in a trance and reliving that.
Yeah, but then not only that, I'm glad it wasn't his go-to girl.
I'm glad. I was wondering if it was, but it's not.
Yeah, I'm glad that once she got rid of him, or that she didn't go with him, she refused him, and he lashed out like an angry little boy, and he left, and then Sophia went to go threaten her. But after a good dialogue and a good conversation, they both came to understand each other that no, Oz is a piece of shit and a scumbag, and that he has done dirty to them both. So she tells him, yeah, Oz, you might find him here, his mother's alive, blah blah blah. And so I'm glad that she came into no harm's way. But oh, by the way, the doctor, there's a theory going around that he was a figment of Sophia's imagination, that he doesn't really interact with other characters in the show, that he always seems to appear with Sophia when it's just the two of them. Like from her release of Arkham through the narrative of the show, he's not there. He's not real. He was a real doctor in Arkham, but whoever that way that ended, she saw something in him as the only person she could trust after her brother. And so while she maintains someone around her who is devoted nothing but loyalty to her, it's keeping her sane. Because when we see him later at the end, it's still sort of unclear that he is the same type of person who has witnessed her commit murders, and he has assisted her in committing crime. Yeah. So I think based on him appearing at the end, giving her the letter that Selena Kyle wrote to her, where it's confirmed that Selena knows she is half sisters with her. Yeah. The doctor didn't seem like the same profile that he was with her. So and Sophia was disconnected with him. Yeah. So obviously they've left it vague.
Well, I think that they've left it so vague in the fact that I never thought of that. You saying it now is the first I've even considered that. But everything you said, I completely agree with. That yeah, that argument can be made, because those are all completely points that I agree with.
Yeah.
Even so much that when I was watching it in the finale and he came back into the room, I'm like, so this guy can just get a job back in Arkham?
Yeah.
But now that you say that, I was like, oh, maybe he never left Arkham.
Yeah.
It's just so weird that he can flip-flop into being what seemed like just a therapist on the outside, and then he can go work for her, and now he can get a job back in Arkham. That did seem a little bit funny, and so because of that, I think that what you're saying there, I can believe it. I don't think it's something I want to believe. I don't really like that kind of figment of imagination thing.
I don't want it here either. But look, they introduced it. I don't want it revisited either.
Yeah.
I don't really want to see that guy again. However, they want to use certain characters in this world. But hey, if Bruce Wayne can do it, I'm sure this guy can do it.
Yeah.
Moving on.
I have to say that as well. Sorry, just when you said it earlier about the flashbacks and stuff.
Yeah.
I actually really enjoyed Oz's flashbacks and finding out what happened with his brothers. I actually think that the kid that plays Little Oz was great as well. I actually kind of want to see more of him. I wouldn't have minded a little bit of a layered throughout the whole series of finding out what happened with him and his brothers.
Kind of looks like one of our friends.
He's not going to like you said that, but he might not listen to this episode, so... Which is funny, because I have a running joke with that guy that's about the Penguin. We would just randomly, when we were living in our college house, we just go, wham, the Penguin. We would do like a Danny DeVito impression. So if you're listening to this, unnamed friend, wham, the Penguin.
First of all, we are told in the drive of the story in the present that, Oz has brothers, but they're not around anymore. And the way he talks about his brothers, he talks in awe of them. He's like, yeah, me and my brothers used to get up to some sort of mischief, and we used to hang out and to do all sorts of things. And like as if they're like, yeah, they're his best friends and his buddies. Bullshit is what it is.
We see his mom almost, yeah.
Yeah, but he's saying this to Vic. But he's saying it as if he believes it himself. Like he looks at himself in the mirror, or he puts himself to sleep, saying it, repeating it. We see the flashback here. He's a real mama's boy. He's like, hey, ma, and all that crack. He gives her breakfast, and he's all cuddling up to her. And where's the brothers? Oh, here comes the brothers. And the brothers, they're having fun. They're playing games, and they're playing catch, and they're all loving each other. But Oz doesn't like it.
He can't handle the fact that when the brothers come in and they mess up what their mom is doing, and he's like, oh yeah, now mom's gonna give out to them, and then she joins in on the fun, and he's like, what? You know, I'm the mama's boy. I'm her favourite.
And I wonder if him being handicapped, him limping with the foot, I wonder if that contributes to it, or because of that, it's a direct result of him not being able to do much from the certain perspective at the time. Because you can see, obviously, in the show, Oz is capable of many things.
Yeah. It's not so much a disability, just an inconvenience.
So I wonder if that cuts out any reason why it may be a cause of him being a mama's boy, why he wants his mom to himself, why he doesn't like his brothers, because he just doesn't like them. And his older brother, he seems to be like the good boy with a good morale. Like he would grow up to do some good things, like, I don't know, be a lawyer, be a real good person, pretty much
policeman. He might just
the opposite of crime.
Yeah, and I've seen crime in my neighborhood growing up. Like I wanted to fight against that, and he wouldn't be like, you know, Detective Gordon or anything like that. But he's just like a beat cop. Like he's I'm trying to do good by my neighborhood.
He'd be like that guy in the Batman. What was his name? Ramirez?
Yeah.
Let's go, Pencil Nick.
Yeah, I know him, yeah.
So it would have been nice to see him pop up in the show. But, okay, so we get the flashback episode, so we know we're going to find out what happens. And I think if I had to pause and quiz myself, what happened? I could say Oz killed him. I still found it a bit of a struggle to witness it.
I think Oz accidentally killed them, and he killed them by omission, by not. Now he probably didn't know that they were being flooded down there.
I think the way it happened is like he locked them in there because he was, you know, pissed off and angry at them because his disability really got to him. But
he'd go back the next day and let them out.
Yeah, but I think him watching outside the window and it raining, and him probably thinking, "Oh, those guys didn't come back yet. Oh well." So I personally took it as he didn't intentionally plan to kill them, but when he realized well, could they have died? It didn't seem to bother him all that much.
Yeah. He didn't make any attempt to save them.
Yeah.
And them being gone.
Yeah,
really didn't do him any. Did him more favors, really, because now he has his mom all to himself.
Yes, and I think that makes it all the more disturbing because you cut back to the door and you don't see inside it.
No.
Similar to the way Vic's parents and family were killed in the flood, you just see it from his perspective from the rooftop. You see the tunnels flood from the outside of the door that is locked, and you just hear them, and you see the water rushing in. That's disturbing.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And I actually did not think it was going to be brought up in the finale because only Oz knew what happened. I thought this was just for something for the audience to understand the character more. But I did not think the death of their brothers and who killed them was going to be of a major consequence in the forefront, because it was revealed in a flashback that the mother did know, and the most beloved gangster that Oz had for came to visit her, good friends, either use his abilities to have not a care in the world but have a show of loyalty, or take him for a drive. And the mother was entertaining the idea of
She was so close.
Yeah.
Literally on the brink.
I don't think we saw what made her decide against that drive.
It was Oz's promise. I'm gonna look after you and all this.
Don't give up on me.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. I thought we were going to revisit the flashback sequence, and it was a creative choice to have the actress played by the older version.
I like that a lot.
Yes, because it's not just a flashback; it's the character going back, retracking her memories by the help of Sophia and the doctor. Recounting what happened, and as a result, because it's her future self thinking back, that's why they creatively made that choice to have the older actress play, and they made sure you didn't get lost by having a reflection of the younger actress in the mirror. So as a result, that was a good choice. But it's interesting that was all brought to the forefront here in this confrontation, where the mother is having her finger nearly sliced up, and Oz just still refuses to admit that it's what happened. He refuses to. Ma, you're crazy. You don't know what you're saying.
You're confused. Yeah,
fully believing his bullshit. And I think him going when Sophia tries to reel out the truth from his mother, she spits at him, and he goes, "Yeah." I had to remind myself to bring this point up here that this show is actually quite funny at times.
It is.
Oz is a funny character. Like, go back to that scene. I'll tell you this one thing when he says to Batman, "She's one hot chick." He's stupid, but he's funny as well. He's a real scumbag.
He's a real person. Do you want to talk about Vic for just a little bit? We're kind of wrapping up here now.
Yeah, I knew a character like Vic was going to show up, like a protege to Penguin, based on some trailers. I thought it was quite visceral, if I think that's the word I want to use for this. After he had Vic help him dispose of the body. "Okay, kid, there's a sunset over there. Why don't you go take a good look at it?" Yeah, I think that's what made me go, "Oh shit." And then he kept him, because they didn't have the characters use dialogue. "Wow, you have a stutter. That reminds me of my physical disability in my foot. Now I see so much potential in you. I think I'll keep you." No. The kid just stutters, and Penguin takes a second to take that in.
Yeah.
And I think that was a good use for the character. And throughout the show, I thought this kid, who I had preconceived thoughts that this kid was just going to be annoying and a nuisance, an inconvenience, hooked me by the second episode. Because he's not just that perfect. What's the opposite? What's the male version of a Mary Sue that he can do?
I don't know.
The fact that he tried to plant something in the car in the second episode and he couldn't do it. And so when he told Oz, "Well, I gotta go kill this guy," but the guy he had in the room, and I like that the relationship between them two, how Vic is alone. He's got no choice other than obligation and fear to stick with Oz, to do his bidding. But it's when Oz starts looking after him by giving him money and say, "You're owed some money. Yeah, I tell you, kid, you stick with me, I'll look after you." When you give a youth who's in a position of desperation and absent of his family I feel like my heart is going out to him because he's been given something as positive as money for himself that he feels like he's earned, and this guy is looking after him. It's Oz needing that loyalty, even though he's a lackey. However, he can manipulate him, and Vic wanting some form of a fatherly figure, or at least a mentor figure. More mentor than fatherly, definitely. Because, dude, like, I really got up on board with Vic.
Yeah.
And when he was saying he was going to leave, and how Penguin just said, "You want to go? Go!" But I was afraid to watch that scene because, not one, I'm afraid he'll kill Vic, but two, I feel for Oz. Yeah, I feel for this sick, psychotic, psychopathic killer. Because it's just good writing. Because even though you're following these villains, you see the elements of humanity in them. And therefore you see it in Vic. And he decides not to leave Gotham and live a life with someone who could be the girl of his dreams. No, he goes back and chooses a life, and he saves Oz. And the life is just brought back into Oz, and I knew you wouldn't leave me, kid. I knew it. What about Sophia? Oh, fuck her. After a speech of how you can trust me. So quite well done, I might say. And then it gets more beautiful, where this guy Squid goes up wanting the life that Vic seems to be getting from Oz.
Yeah.
And so Vic has to handle it, and he's going to try to handle it the most humane way possible, by paying him without having to do any work.
Yeah.
And this guy is looking down at Vic, and so Vic has no choice but to shoot him. And this is after being told by Oz, "You gotta sort this out, kid. Do you need me to sort this out?" And no, Vic has got to impress Oz. He can't bear any more workload on him. And so he goes back to Oz, and he tells him, "I sorted it out." And Oz knew he killed him. And he went and he hugged him, and he said, "It gets easier." Oh man, that is beautiful. And
there were some great moments, I think, between them, and I think
I honestly, right, you can say all you want about the relationship he might have had with Sophia. I think the strongest aspect in the show, I'm really surprised, is the relationship between Vic and Oz.
I think so too. I think you've wrapped up a lot of what I was going to say anyway.
Yeah.
I think the two things that I want to point out the most were the three things, actually. The first one being when they're in the restaurant together.
Yeah.
And Vic is ordering.
Yes.
And the waiter says the word for him, and Oz loses it. He's like, "Let him speak." You know, he sees, like you said, he sees Vic with the disability. He has a disability, and he's like, "Don't let anyone talk down to you just because, be you."
But that's still Oz playing up his own heightened belief of himself that I'm something to look up to, kid. I'm looking out for you. Remember that.
And then as well, after he does leave Oz, and then when he comes back, as soon as he comes back, there's no ever wavering doubts or anything like that. It is very much like, "I am with you.
Yeah.
I'm with Oz."
Because he likes the life. He likes what the life
and
could
he knows
be.
he can see
Yeah.
that's the way up. That's the way that I can make money for myself.
Yeah.
And the third being, then, I think that you're right, the relationship between those two characters was so far beyond everything else because of that last scene with them where they're having a drink together, and Oz literally says to him as he's choking him, "I can't have any more weaknesses." And for him to admit to Vic, "You are a weakness for me," that in a later scenario someone comes along and they take Vic and they hold Vic hostage, that's a weakness for Oz. I think that is so good. And so he has to do the tough thing for himself and take out his only weakness. He's going to endure the pain now, then possibly lose something in the future. I thought that was really like, wow, this relationship has come a long way from Vic stealing this guy's alloys.
I do agree with you, man, but I think there's another side to that as well, and I need to find the words to describe it, that he can't have Vic be a weakness for him in his future wars that could be used against him. I think it's when Vic said to Oz, "You're my family." Oz has a thing about family and the loss of family. And I think that he refuses that. But I think because Vic has witnessed his most vulnerable moment, and as a result, he cannot have a witness in that.
He needs to be the Penguin, not Oz, almost.
I think it's more... I wouldn't really strictly say a penguin because he hates that.
No, I know, but he needs to be
in fact,
the crime boss.
The gangster.
The gangster, yeah.
The crime boss of Gotham. And Vic having a window in Oz's vulnerability is a potential weakness that Oz cannot bear to have because it can be used against him by others or by Vic himself.
Yeah.
Oz cannot handle that.
No,
Oz,
I think you're right. I think both of us are right in what way Vic could be used against him.
Yeah.
By other people or Vic himself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He sees him as a weakness for himself. He needs to be bigger than that. Look how he still keeps his mother. He
locked up, yeah.
He can't even kill her. He can't put her out of her misery like he promised he would. Because it's just so complicated. It's arguably more complicated than Batman in the movie. So I think this is probably, not to get ahead of myself, but probably the greatest season of 2024.
Wow. Okay. I look forward to discussing it a little bit more then in our wrap up. I'm sure that we'll talk about it a little bit there.
Yeah.
So I think that kind of wraps up all of our. Obviously, there's so much more to talk about, but we only have a limited amount of time. Have you got a recommendation before we let these people go?
I do, but you go first because I need to search.
I'm going to recommend Superman, which is the new documentary, also released by DC Studios, and it covers the life of Christopher Reeve after he took his accident in the 90s. And I will admit, I cried about 4 times while watching it. It's a great documentary, great story, and it's inspirational.
I am going to... That's a good recommendation, by the way. I look forward to watching it. I am going to recommend a new show called The Day of the Jackal.
Okay.
It stars Eddie Redmayne and Lashana Lynch. And it's...
I really like her, actually.
She's great. This is a reboot of an intellectual property, essentially, because there's a book and then there's a movie and then there's another movie that has a similar name title called The Jackal, but apparently the story's just nearly completely different beyond the initial concept. It starred Bruce Willis and Richard Gere, but it's about a cat and mouse game between a hitman assassin and the authoritative figure, whether it be a police or a detective or in this case an MI6 agent, on the hunt for him. And we see the plot he's going through in wrapping up things from his previous hit to his next job he's trying to do, and we see the many subplots of Lashana Lynch trying to
catch him.
Catch him.
Yeah.
And for some reason I was just hooked by the trailers because why would I be interested in this? I don't know. I still to this day cannot explain why I was hooked, because when it first aired I started watching it. No hesitation. But to keep things as quick as possible, it's not disappointing me in the slightest.
Cool. I look forward to... I'll definitely add it to my list. We'll watch it.
I think The Day of the Jackal is one to watch.
Cool. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Talking Pictures Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure that you're subscribed to us on your favourite podcasting app of choice. If you can give us 5 stars. You can leave us a review on that podcasting app. Costs you nothing, gives us everything. Make sure that you join us next week for our regularly scheduled Wednesday Waffle, as well as bonus episodes. Every other weekend, we do stuff like our favourite directors. We did a quick wrap up on Agatha All Along. Lots of different things. So it's a good fun time. So make sure that you are subscribed to never miss out on an episode. Brian, any final words before we let these people go?
I'm the Joker, baby.
Wow, I'm the Penguin.